Hello, this is Simple SolidWorks. Today we're going to go over this. We're going to take the whole Sketch tab portion of our lesson today, and we're going to focus on getting all of these particular features done. Hopefully, somewhere around here. I'm going to try to make it up to convert entities somewhere there, so that we could sort of touch base on that and learn how to create a sketch within SolidWorks. I think this is important for you to at least touch all of this and get a good feel for that. So we're going to start off by clicking on the front plane here. Okay, and then once you pick up the front plane, you're going to get sketch, and you're going to start just drawing. I'm going to go through each of these features so you know what it is, right? So we've all been sort of at least have a basic understanding on certain commands. If you have taken AutoCAD or any other type of CAD package before, you know that this particular command is very basic. You just click on it, it's going to tell you where you want to place it on, and you start just drawing. You can, if you notice, if it becomes yellow like it is now, that little yellow line that you see there, that means that it's always straight. It's going straight up on the vertical. And if you go across, it also does that same concept, and it shows you that it's going across horizontal perfectly. So this is very basic. This shouldn't take anybody. Have you done AutoCAD before? This is pretty much basic AutoCAD command. It's a line command. It's very easy to work with. So I won't dab too much on that. If you've done it before in AutoCAD, it's pretty much the same thing. There's several types of lines in SolidWorks other than center. There's a center line, and center line is one where you want to create, and you sort of want to create something of spin or revolve, or some sort of revolve extrude, and you want to have that center line prior to making that revolve. So if you take, let's say, a rectangular shape, which is going to be the next, or you can create another line. Let's stick with the line thing. So if you want to take a line and you just go across like this, sort of weird like that, and then you go to features and you say revolved. Well, guess you have your line, which is the center line, and you have your piece, your profile that's going to get revolved. So if you say confirm that, you get yourself a revolve piece. So the center line is basically that kind of an effect where you can just create something on the fly that is going to be revolved around. So I like to use that center line for that purpose. I use it to mirror stuff around as well. There's another feature up here called mirror entities, and I think I touched that on a different command at one time. On one of my videos, so if you want to check that out, I have a video how to use that particular command, but I can go over it real quick. Pick the 4 lines, pick my center line, and there it is. So that's symmetrical, meaning if you move up, around, you take this, move it out, it's just going to move the same way both ways. That's what that symbol right there that you're seeing means. It's symmetrical. So sorry, I got a dog here. Sometimes he just goes a little crazy. I have to tell her not to do that because she suffers from allergies. Oh well. So, what was I? Okay, yeah. So I'm here. I'm creating this line here. Now I want to delete that. So I can delete that. There's another line here. It's called midpoint line. And this one is useful if you just want to pick a point here, let's say, and it's just going to draw like a construction line, but it's going to be from the middle. So it grows out equally on both sides. If you click on it, it has that distance. If you say 2, is 2 on the general appearance of it. So it's 2 there, right? So it's going one on each side, one here and one over there. So that's what that does. Let's get rid of this. Let's go touch the next one right here, which is the rectangular. Right, there's a couple ways of doing that one. If you click on it, you see that there's a ton of options on how to do this rectangular stuff. So if you click on here, you can see how much of it you have. So let's go and click on the first one. And the first one is all it is just needs a point right there and where you want it over here. Right? And you got these parameters that you can fill out here if you want to do it manually. You know, if you want to punch in all these numbers manually, or you can just put a dimension on it, which is the easiest way to do it. I'm all about easy. No need to be getting all complicated. And you can just punch in the numbers, and that gives you the rectangle that you need. Always try to be efficient with your time. When you're doing something in SolidWorks, you want to be as efficient as you can, because you get paid by the hour, or if your salary, you get paid by when your projects are actually done. Or, you know, if you're a freelancer, you get paid when your projects are done. So the faster you can get things done, the better you're better off you are, right? So what's going on with this? Okay. So let's do the next one. The next one is a center rectangular right there. Okay, and my zoom is not working right now. I don't know what's going on. But this one, you pick the center and it grows out this way. So it's the same thing, but it just gives you different options of how to make something. You know, on this one, you also have parameters to pick from. You can fill in this whole thing out. Right now it's at 0, 0. You can change the center point from there to move it up or down. Right? You can see that. Yeah. You can punch in all kinds of parameters in there if you need to make it special. But again, it's more efficient if you just put a dimension on there. So be efficient with your time, because SolidWorks can be very time consuming. Then you have your 3-point rectangular. So this one, if you have a known points, let's say you have these points plotted out sort of like that, and you pick this one, it's going to ask you, okay, first point, second point, third point. And it might not work because it's kind of off of it, but you get the gist of it. If you have 3 points and you want to have it sort of plotted out, you can just pick those 3 points and your triangle will come out. So that's a good one if you have 3 points that you need. Then you have 3 points center rectangular. So again, it's the same concept. You have the center, it's asking for the center, the second point if you have a second point, and you have a third point. Creates one. That kind of unevenness like that's because it's picking off sort of waypoints that I'm picking. But it's pretty self-explanatory, these particular ones. Again, same thing with this one. Pick here, pick there, and now you can sort of skew it left or right. And you have that skewed looking rectangular shape, right? It puts these constraints, meaning parallel to each other, horizontal. So this is a good command if you want to create a skew looking type of rectangular shape that you need to do a cut of some sort. Because the next one, it's going to be this one right here. This is the straights. This is probably the most that I've used in my career. These slots is probably the most that I've used. You can have the straight ones. It means you pick one here. You're picking the center of it, right? So you're growing from the center out. And you can see right here what it's doing, right? You could pretty much get a gist of it, of what you're kind of doing here. And this again, you can always pick this, the circle of it and say, I want this to be that. And then say, okay, that's fine there. But then I want to pick the center of this, and that's fine there. And if you take it from here to there, right, if you hold your shift down and you say, listen to that, it turns it black. So now it's completely constrained, and it has this parameter there. So I think this is a good. I've used this slot command the most. This one is all of this is asking for 2 center points, right? So you got the center and you have another center, and it grows out. So there's various ways to do these slots. I kind of like to try different things when I'm doing these SolidWorks things, because you never know. There's one way to skin a cat, and you have the 3-point arc slot. This one also is useful, right? You're gonna do this weird looking one that goes out like this. So that's the kind of effect you get with that one. And the last one is the center. Most of these things always have the same concept, where you have a center and you give it another. It always asks for that. It gives you like different ways of doing it. I don't know. I still haven't been able to figure out since 2006 as to why they give you so many options to do it. But I've always used mainly the straightest slot, because it's the most common thing that people would do. So then you have your circle ones over here, and this thing has those basic center circle where you pick the center and you go out. It also has the 3-point circle, so you can have, let's say you have a line here and you have a line over here, you have a line over here, and you want to circle around that. So it's going to ask you to pick this guy. It might not work because of that, but there it is. So there it is. So what it does is it connects tangent of that circle and it fills it in between there. So if you have a weird design like that where you need to keep certain things weird, right? If you need to draw something odd, but you needed an arc somewhere around there, let's say, right? And you needed another arc somewhere around here, right? So you need to keep that. And then you want to just trim this, but you want to keep that. You want to trim this, but you want to keep this, and sort of give yourself a weird looking shape, right? Well, that's why that one exists, right? So you have yourself something weird like that. So that's that one, the 3-point circle. You have your center point arc. Again, you have a point of the center where you want it, and then how long you want that arc to be. So this could be controlled in several ways. You can put a dimension on this, right? That's one dimension. Let's say you want it to be 0.5. Then you can say, well, I also want it to be 90 there. You can turn that into a construction line. See? And you can say, I want this from here to here. You turn that into a construction line. Then you can say, well, I want this to be from here to here. Let me get that out. Okay. You want this from here to there to be at a certain degree, right? You can take it. Let's take it. Okay. So 125. You can put 125 or 130, just so you can see the difference, and it will grow out just a little bit. That wasn't too much of a difference. So let's give it 150 so you can see it. 150. And you can see that circle or that arc becoming. So that's one way to control or add some more parameters to this particular feature with that type of arc, right? So now we're going to do the next one, which is the tangent arc. And again, that's almost the same as this, but you could get it. You have that. It's going to ask you for, let's say, this guy. Oops. Let's get rid of this. Let's try. Let's put a line here. And let's just give it a point here and there. segment, and gives you a goofy looking arc like that. So that's another way to do it. If you, in case you do a half a circle and you don't want to trim it, you can do that. The 3-point arc, of course, that's 1, 2, and then you can say 3, right? It's going to ask you for 3 points. So it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just I'm going through it because eventually you're going to need this type of knowledge, right? You're going to need to know what's what. Sometimes they don't. A lot of YouTubers and a lot of people I've seen explain SolidWorks, they don't go through the basics. They just go straight into these elaborate, design with all kinds of, hey, this is what I can do. Look, I made a rocket with SolidWorks. But they don't even try to tell you how to make a line, how to do a rectangular shape, how to move one thing from another. They just randomly start drawing. So I like to go through the basics because that's that's what the meat and potatoes are at. They're at the basics. They're not at the high level stuff. 90% of the time, you're not going to design high level stuff. You're going to do the basics. So this one is a pretty easy command. It's pretty self-explanatory. It gives you how many parameters you want to add to this polygon, right? It gives you right here. You got how many? Do you want 10? Do you want it inscribe, circumscribe, and so forth, right? And it gives you all where do you want it placed at the 0, 0. How big do you want it? What is this angle that you want on this line here to be? And it gives you all of that, and you punch it in, and that is fine and dandy. This works. This is a good command to know because you will do some odd shapes like this for either bolts or something. So if you place it here, let's say, and you say, well, this first of all, I like to fill out this part here first. I like to say 6, let's say. And I'm going to make make it 5. And I'm going to make it 45 here. And then I place it somewhere there. And I just place it here. Right, so right now I fill all the parameters of it. And this circle here will tell me, I want to change it to 2. It grows, right? I want this part to be next to this part. I want it to be coincident to that. Okay, that makes sense somewhat. You can add dimensions to these if you want, just to sort of for the sake of it, right? So this is a good command to know. It's a very basic polygon that you can get out of with SolidWorks. If you notice here, also in this command, you got these options here. If you pick on this circle here, it does. Look at how it changed the circle symbol here, right? Because I put circumscribe, it puts it inside of the circle. Therefore, the symbol change tells you what it's got to do. Okay, so all these things are pretty. If you pay attention to these icons as you're selecting something, you can do that. You can create anything you like. Basically, just pay attention to what it's telling you here. So just pay attention to that and you get yourself a lot of these little knickknacks. On this one here, this is a speed line, and there's 3 of those, 3 types of those, and I'll touch base on that. The basic speed line is, again, you just pick a point and you just start plotting your way through. Right, that's the most common speed line that you'll see. You've probably seen this in AutoCAD as well. This one you can add dimensions and move these points back and forth. If you move it from here, if you zoom in and you move it from here, it moves it up or down as you want. Right? If you move it from here, it just moves it back and forth. If you want to stretch it out, you can stretch it out by picking at this angle here, and it impacts the lower one. See? That kind of a weirdness to it, right? This is a basic one. This is good for when you want to do a follow path type of extrusion. That's what you use this one for. There's also the style speed line, which is similar, but this one you get to have these polylines, these construction lines following it as well. So this is a little bit more if this is managed more by these points, and it gives you more manageable points to sort of add or subtract to, right? It gives you that endpoint, but you can also manipulate it at this level here. So I find this pretty useful because you actually put dimensions on these lines here, and it gives you a better, I don't know, more engineering type of an effect, right? If you really want to be that way, if you have these numbers and you need to be that number, you could manipulate that by controlling it just a tad bit on that, on this dimension style here, and sort of get it sort of tied up to a little bit at a little bit of time, so you can really work your way around and get yourself a little bit more controlled on these, because these lines exist, right? You know, so you know, I want you to go up like that. So now it's more tied, right? You can say, well, I need that. I want to put another dimension here. Right, so now you can start seeing how you can tie this together as you start to put it all in one dimension. So I kind of like this because you can put some dimensions on there and get it all tied up, and you get it the way you want it. The speed line, the other one, is sort of more freestyle, and it's kind of tough to manipulate. The next one is the equation driven one. This one has, you probably took some algebra classes and you've done these plots in a sense. But here you can actually plot a particular equation. You can put like 1.25 times sin x, let's say. And then you can put, well, I want it to be from 0 to 10. And if you notice, it created like a yellow line here. And if you confirm that, then what it's doing now, if you try to put, if you click on it, it's going to give you back to that same equation that you just did. And then you can change that equation on the explicit side, right? But you can also change it, you can want to change it at the parametric side. You can click on that, and you're going to have to change sort of the equation a little bit, because now you're changing everything. So you see how it says it's red? That's not good, right? Because red is never good. So you want to put, say t there, right? It's asking for t. Let me hold this t at there. And then you want to change your equation to, let's say, the sin of t, right? And then you want to say 0 to 20, let's say, and see how it sort of created a longer one. So this is a good command if you want to sort of create a very specific way pattern or extrusion that has to follow a specific path of some sort. You can take this right here and say feature, extrude that, and it's going to say, well, do you want a thin feature? Of course, because there's nothing else that it can create, but give me some thickness, let's say. And you confirm that, and you got this weird looking shape like that when you're done with that. And it follows a particular mathematical formula. So it's a good thing to have. It gives you that freedom to sort of actually add some intelligence to your part. Some actual, math to it. I mean, I wouldn't go all crazy with it, but it can give you something. So that's one way to do that on a speed line. Let's erase this. The next one is going to be the ellipse. Again, there's 1, 2, and then you got a parabola and a conic. Again, this is very basic. This is asking you for a center point. It's asking you for the outside, and then the overall way that ellipse needs to be. So that's pretty basic. You've seen that in AutoCAD. If you've done AutoCAD before, it's very similar. This one also is a little bit partial one, which means it just does this and then that, and then you can sort of say, well, I want it to be sort of right there, and confirm that. You can always take that and sort of maybe go to sheet metal and turn it into a flange. Maybe, maybe not. Oh yeah, maybe. Go outside like this. That's a weird looking sheet metal thing. I don't know if it might flatten it. Could flatten it, might not. Let's see. Yep, there it is. So if you have a weird sheet metal tarp and you need to create it with a sort of weird looking thing, then that's how that works. You see, very easy. This is a very easy command. Most of these, like I said, most of this stuff is very easy to work with. So let's go back to that sheet, to that sketch. I'll continue with this. Okay, so let's continue with that. Yes, please. So now we're going to pick the next one, which we're here. We're going to do the parabola. This is again, you pick one spot, you pick another, and you just start drawing. Again, you have these 2 points. You can have to put it there, and you can always take this end point and switch it around. This is a very odd shape. Again, this is another feature that you can extrude as a thin feature and get it out. Right? Another weird looking shape, right? So those certain commands are just made to create odd shapes within the system itself. So let's go back to Sketch and let's pick the next one, which is the conic one. This one, you pick here, pick there, and you can create a weird looking cone like that. Right? And you can say, well, I need that to be another. That went away. You can say, well, I want this to be an extrusion. Pick that outside. Now it creates a weird looking, almost like a wingtip of some sort, right? And you can turn that into a sheet metal and flatten it out and know what you need to do lengthwise when you create it. So that's that. And then the next one, it's going to be just the fillets and radius. This one is almost the same as the Solidworks. I mean, it's in the AutoCAD. You work with AutoCAD, you've seen this before. Again, this is stuff that they borrow from AutoCAD. They borrow this stuff from AutoCAD so that people wouldn't have to relearn the whole wheel from scratch. Now, it's asking you to select which entities you want. Let's say 0.25. Just say 0.25. Or let's 0.5. And select the entities. So you pick this entity and you pick that entity, and there's your radius already starting to show up. You confirm that, you have it right there. Now I'm not a particular fan of making radiuses on a drawing. I like to do my fillets in the design itself, inside the model itself, so that way you have it as a feature instead of just having it in the drawing. But SolidWorks gives you the option to be able to create it in the drawing. But I never used it in the drawing because to me it's not a best thing. It's not a best practice when you're doing something like this. But here you can do a chamfer. It's going to ask you this, and it's going to ask you for that. And it creates a chamfer for you. And this is where you change it right here. You say, well, I want it to be 45. But again, you can do the same thing with, you can do it with the command itself. You can do this with a feature. So this is sort of like it's there, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of it, to be honest with you. It shouldn't be here because it should be a feature, in my opinion. Right. So then the next one's going to be the text. This is important for creating some embossing or debossing right on your part, and it can do certain things, right? In other words, you can make it You can make it so that it follows a particular arc. So you can have this here like that. Let's say you confirm that. I like to turn it into a construction geometry. And then I'd like to hit this portion here, and I type in my text. I'll say test. I'll say curve, and I'll pick this curve here. And I think it's showing up, but it's very small. There it is right there. You can change the height of that by unchecking this little box right here. You uncheck that, and then you can say, well, I want it to be this way, and I want it to be that way, and then the font, I want to change it so that it's bigger. So you can come down here, be like 18 points. You say I want it to be 36. You hit OK, and now you have that. And you can say, well, I don't want it to be that big now. And you can say I want it to be center, right on the center. And you can say, yeah, that looks about right, but I want my font to still be bigger. So you can come back here, but I don't want it to be that big. And you say, I want the font to be this style. I don't like that style. I want it to be bold. Hit OK. And so now you start to see the picture here. So that in itself, you can then come back. If you were to put this on as a feature, you can say, well, I want it to extrude it. So it picks it, and you say, yeah. Boom. Now I got a test. I got the text in there. You know, on my feature, on my face of my product, blah, blah, blah. You can either deboss it or emboss it right in or out. Extrude inward, cut it out, or extrude out to make it on top of the first surface itself. So that's a pretty useful thing to have. I like to use that a lot. I'd use it a lot to identify if I want something to be lasered onto my part, then it'll get lasered in. And okay, so the next one is going to be points. Everybody know what this is. If you have done AutoCAD, this is the same thing. These points are just, I like to use them when I'm going to do a particular, if you see my other videos, I've created linear patterns, and then these linear patterns, I've used points, and these points are useful for that type of a pattern that needs to follow a point parameter. There's a good video that I made. You should look that up and see if that helps you understand what I use these points for. Okay, so we got that. We have this one. We have the trim entity. And we're going to touch base. We're going to do the next video, the next round. The next part 2 of this is going to be these right here. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I want you to check it out. Make sure that you hit the subscribe and like button. I'll be posting part 2 of this sketch tab right after I'm done with this. So keep tuned. Thank you so much.